Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start with a new topic, privatization of LPG reforms 1991. And the book is NCERT Class 11 Economics. So privatization means shedding off the ownership or management of government-owned enterprises. And companies can be converted into private companies in two ways. First, by withdrawal of government from ownership and management, and second, by outright sale of public sector companies. And this sale is known as disinvestment. Now, एक बार इनके बारे में समझते हैं. All the topic. Privatization literally means to become a private property. And यहाँ पर we are talking about a public property becoming a private property. So पहला सवाल आता है, why is there a need to make a public property private? And first the reason why, and then the second question comes in terms of possible benefits, tentative benefits. इस exercise से the economy has to get something in return. Otherwise, the whole exercise will become futile if the sale or the disinvestment both are not garnering any results. So, first reason why, उसका background आपको पता है. From 1952 to 1991, the state of India, the status of India, it was a developing status in which we were developing from scratch. And when a huge country such as India, huge and populous country, if it is developing from scratch, if it is rising from the ashes of the colonialism and rising like a phoenix, it needs lot of resources, lot of investment, initial investment, which is not going to provide immediate results. No immediate results. And still, you need to keep fueling the economy. So that was the actuality of that time. That was the reality of that time, that the legislator, the government of the then free India, it had no choice, no options are there. ब्रिटिश उन्होंने रेलवे, टेलीग्राफ, जहां भी उन्होंने इन्वेस्ट किया, all the investment were for their own purpose, for their own benefit. This railway है, तो it was railway serve as the transporter of raw material from India to the British factories. British factories. अगर उन्होंने रोड बनाई, roads, तो for movement of troops, and it served as another tool of administrative apparatus, administrative tool. Then telegraph, it was for communication, for administration. अगर उन्होंने universities, educational institutions उन्होंने बनाए, educational institution, it also had another imperial or colonial angle to it, because they needed Indian who were British in taste and Indian in servility. कुल मिला के उनको नौकर चाहिए थे, उनको इंडियन नौकर चाहिए थे, which had British thought, which which lived like a modern Englishman, but the status of whom will be no higher than a servant. So all in all, इन सब का पर्पस ये है कि ब्रिटिश ने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे ध्यान नहीं दिया, and even if they did, it was for their own benefit. So that's why I said government had to start from scratch, and first it needed to focus, needed to divert its attention towards infrastructure, infrastructure of all kind, and that included dams, railways, roads, public sector enterprises, factories, electricity. So इन सब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में इनिशियली इन्वेस्ट करना था. Government had to invest in it, even if they were not generating any results. Now the second question comes, how did the government manage it? How it, the then government, manage all the resources, or manage all the expenditure, manage it? So the simple answer is by generating revenue. But revenue was not possible. Revenue can be generated from first by taxation and other by borrowing. The condition of Indian were not rich enough, not reasonable enough to pay higher amount of taxes. So taxation from poor people, it could not be resorted to, and people from taxation from corporate was also not possible, because corporate भी उस टाइम के गरीब इंडिया का पार्ट थे. Then borrowing भी domestic and foreign sources. Domestic sources were unavailable or meager. Then the only source available was with foreign institutions such as World Bank and IMF. Now इसी के साथ जुड़ा है, why did government, how did government manage the production side? Because if a country wants to develop, it can be by two situations. जो पहले इंडिया की सिचुएशन थी when we were called self-sufficient economy, and that self-sufficient economy could be possible only because of trade. And ज़रूरत नहीं है कि the trade should happen on international level. Even domestic level पे भी, if we are meeting our needs by our own production, then the import bill will be less. But Indian में, the British, they shattered the cottage industry that was hallmark of this self-sufficient economy. And second, they could not see the development of Indian industry, Indian private industry. And आप history में पढ़ेंगे कि the British, they did not allow the growth of Indian industry. They tried their best to stop it from growing even in its budding stage. So production was not there. And जो भी start हुआ after 1920s with the establishment of disco, the industries थी, थोड़ी बहुत थी, but we cannot say कि वो सारे इंडिया की जो need है, the production need है, the commodity needs है, they could fulfill it. So in short, production capacity of India at that time was very less. So अब डेवलप भी होना है, प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी भी चाहिए, कमोडिटीज़ का प्रोडक्शन भी चाहिए, ट्रेड भी होना है, बट प्राइवेट सेक्टर, Indian industry, it is not there. And you will read about the Bombay Plan of 1944, in which the industrialists themselves, private industrialists, Indian industrialists, उन्होंने गवर्नमेंट को सजेस्ट किया है कि यू टेक द रेंज, यू होल्ड द स्टीयरिंग व्हील, because we do not have the necessary capital, we do not have the wherewithal to start from this scratch, and we want you to take the lead. So उन्होंने गवर्नमेंट को आगे किया कि आप स्टार्ट कीजिए and we will follow the lead. So at the time, government, it held the steering wheel of production by establishing public sector enterprises, public sector companies, public sector undertakings. So these PSUs, they were government company and they were making everything from pin to helicopter. So the production, on the production side, it was the government that was producing everything and government was running everything. Government was running hotels, government was running making soaps, bathing soaps, washing soaps. Government was making watches. So उस वक्त की जरूरत थी PSU. But then these rules, they became rigid. Rigid in the sense, liberalization में हमने पढ़ा था that the government, it tried to protect the domestic industries by levying tariff on imports, so that imports become cheaper and they imports become expensive and they could not be imported. And this will protect the domestic industry. And other than that, they have also reserved some industries for small industries, small scale industries, and then private industrialists, private companies को भी अगर produce करना है, then they needed license. So all these steps of government, even if they were initiated or taken in good spirit, later on they became inefficient. And that's how by 1991 we ended up in a situation of crisis, a balance of payment crisis, for which we needed loan, and with loan came the conditions which we call LPG reforms. And one of the reforms is privatization. So at that time, government was needed because government at the time had everything that any corporation, any organization need for its efficient execution. That is, it had the manpower and it had the resources, both technical and financial resources. But 1991 तक अब लोगों के पास पैसा आने लग गया, सड़कें बन गई, people started having a taste of a luxury life. ठीक है, इंडिया का ऑक्यूपेशनल स्ट्रक्चर भी चेंज हो गया. पहले एग्रीकल्चर में थे, नाउ दे आर स्टार्टेड शिफ्टिंग टू मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड सर्विसेज सेक्टर. सो पैसा आने लग गया एंड पीपल started looking for other avenues, and LPG reforms, they were need of the time. So by privatization, अब जब private company, they can make all the necessary things that government should not get into, such as साबुन बनाने के लिए गवर्नमेंट की क्या जरूरत है, प्राइवेट कंपनी दे कैन मेक सोप्स, वॉचेस बनाने के लिए भी. सो द पॉइंट इज that government had to limit itself to the necessary areas, necessary industries, such as atomic defense हो गया, atomic हो गया, डिफेंस सेक्टर हो गया, hazardous chemical हो गया. या ये situations होती है where you cannot allow the private sector because of their lethal effects, because of their seriousness. But other than that, mm, private sector can be allowed to make all other things. Private sector can be allowed to make hotels. Private sector can be allowed to make towels. All of which the government the state or public sector enterprises, they were making all the things. So by privatization, अब सरकारी role it has to be reduced, and private role it has to be enhanced. So this privatization, it took two forms. First, the disinvestment, and the second is outright sale. So outright sale was uh, it was resorted to all those activities which could be undertaken by private companies without any hiccup. So without any hiccup, I mean those industries were not serious, such as soap, watches. So here, government company could be outrightly sold. But disinvestment, here, government wants to keep the stakes in it. Government wants to have some say in it, but yet it need the need to shed some weight. It seeks dispersal of responsibility. एंड वो कैसे होगा? अगर जैसे ये PSU है, पहले इसके ऊपर 100% it was controlled by and owned by government. Now government wants to add fresh blood into it, and by fresh blood I mean private. So government want private ownership and private management, without shedding and without letting go of it completely. And all this sounds like a kind of partnership कि आपको बर्डन भी कम करना है, बट स्टिल यू कंपनी का थोड़ा हिस्सा अपने पास भी रखना है. एंड दिस इन्वेस्टमेंट it happens in a way. Suppose a particular PSU by the name A, and it is valued around 1000 crore, and government has found that, suppose this company, it is making bottles. Now government thinks that the ownership and the management, it should go to the private. Government want to share this company with others, still keeping a part of it with itself. So उसके लिए तरीका होता है by sharing or equity. Equity means अब ये 1000 crore की कंपनी है, and government, it wants to divide this company in equal parts. So that's why we have the name equity. So this 1000 crore company, it has been divided into 100 equal parts, or let's say 1000 equal parts. Then this company will be divided into 1000 equal parts, or 1000 units, and each such unit, it is known as one equity share. So by this way, government seeks to share this company in 1000 unit shares. Or अब thing is clear, whoever has higher shares will share more of the company, will own much of the company. So अब गवर्नमेंट ने 1000 shares तो रिलीज कर दिए, but it still wants to retain the majority. So government ने क्या किया? It kept 51% to itself, and the 49% they went for sale. So अब जो भी कंपनी या जो भी प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल वो 49% शेयर खरीदेगा, he will or she will become 49% owner of the company or 49% partner of the company. So this is how government sheds the ownership responsibility. So in this way, ownership it has been shared. And then second, management. अब ये होता है कि this particular company A, it has shareholder pattern in which 51% it is held by state and 49% it is held by another individual B. So अब कंपनी के डिवीजन होते ही अब जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है वो इन दोनों की है, स्टेट प्लस द प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल बी. एंड नाउ इस कंपनी में जितने भी डिसीजंस है रिगार्डिंग इट्स प्रोडक्शन, द how an item should be produced, what quantity of the item should be produced, कौन सी मशीनरी लानी है, कौन सा इंटरमीडिएट टूल्स होना चाहिए, पेमेंट स्ट्रक्चर कितना हो, जो एम्प्लॉयज है उनको सैलरी कितनी हो, टाइमिंग कितना हो, लेबर लॉज कितने हो, all such formalities, all such decisions, they will be shared between these two in terms of the shares held by each other. So state, it will be a majority shareholder, but private individual, even if there are multiple shareholders, each one of them, they will possess the shareholding capacity and possess the decision making capacity in relation to the number of shares held by them. So here in this particular instance, 51% decision making it rests with the state and 49% decision making it is with the private individual. So in this way, the decision sharing, it is akin to management, changing the management of company. So earlier it was completely managed by the state and now it is managed by two or multiple shareholders. So this is the meaning of disinvestment. Then the purpose of sale according to government was mainly to improve financial discipline and facilitate modernization. And it was also envisaged that private capital and managerial capability could be effectively utilized to improve the performance of PSUs. So जो हमने अभी मैनेजमेंट एंगल देखा था, that shareholders were involved in it, and shareholders जितने भी उनके पास शेयर्स हैं, they are also the owner of the company. जितने शेयर्स हैं उतने परसेंट कंपनी आपकी है, so उतना डिसीजन भी आपका होगा. So this is how when shares are sold to private individual, they bring in their own expertise, they bring in their own management. रीजन मतलब क्वेश्चन यही है कि why is there need to bring in private shareholding, or why is there need to bring private individual into any sector? The reason is it is जितने भी शेयर सबके पास है, प्राइवेट के पास 49% शेयर है, it means private person owns 49% of the company. So, and private individual, they work by both profit and entrepreneurship. So their first idea will be to make profit. और प्रॉफिट के लिए फिर वो अपना दिमाग लगाएंगे, फिर they will bring their own expertise. So this is why fresh capital or private capital is boosted in any company, any government company, by the way of disinvestment. And Government also envisaged to see that privatization could bring strong impetus to flow of FDI. FDI is foreign direct investment. So again, the idea is same. Government works for a different reason, and the corporate, they exist for a different reason. And it is generally found that the private or the corporate, they take company to a different height. They take company to a different direction, and this can happen in two ways. First one, where the state clearly lags behind, which is अगर एक कंपनी एक let's say company A, if it is a state company, means if it is a public sector undertaking, और ये अगर घाटे में चल रही, if it is making losses, then government, even then the government will keep running it for different reasons. But private, अगर कोई company loss में जा रही है and they have tried their best, they have tried their luck, but losses कम नहीं हो रहे हैं, so private, they will wind up the company. They will not run the company if the losses are not compensated or losses are not wounded up. So this is the first difference between a public sector company and a private enterprise. And the reasons for this behavior are different. स्टेट का अपना अलग रीजन होता है. गवर्नमेंट कोई कंपनी चला रही है, so it may be oriented towards welfare policies, या फिर ओवरऑल फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट होगा, या from national perspective, such as जैसे गवर्नमेंट स्कूल की बात करते हैं. अब प्राइवेट सेक्टर की बात करें, प्राइवेट सेक्टर विल नॉट ओपन एंड रन स्कूल इन रिमोट एंड पुअर एरियाज, बिकॉज वहाँ पे स्कूल चलाने का मतलब है कि उनको प्रॉफिट ही नहीं होगा. सो दे विल नॉट run their schools in remote and poorer areas. So यहाँ पे it is government's duty, और government takes leads here कि remote areas में गरीब बच्चों के बीच गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स होती है. So for the same reason, they loss होने के बाद भी the state, it keeps running enterprises, whereas private corporation, they easily wind up. The second reason is the profit motive. स्टेट का प्रॉफिट मोटिव नहीं होता, because state, the primary function of which is to run the government, and government run करने के लिए government execution और government running, so they might entail many losses. अब जैसे बात करते हैं गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स की, सो बहुत सारे रिमोट एरियाज में, डिफिकल्ट टेरेन्स में, इनएक्सेसिबल एरियाज में भी गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स हैं. एंड उन हॉस्पिटल्स में भी अब स्टाफ क्वालिटी बहुत पुअर है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बहुत पुअर है, मेडिकल पर्सनल जो है ना, उनका भी ब्यौरा इज नॉट अप टू द मार्क, बट स्टिल those hospitals are running because they are catering to the areas which will otherwise not to be catered, which will otherwise will not be looked into by anyone else. Private तो वहाँ पे जाने से रहा. So losses के बाद भी government keeps running them, and the reason is not profit, it is about the actual running of government, about welfare of people, about running of country. Private, अगर उनको लेके आते हैं and they get into any such activity, the first idea for them will be to make profit out of it. Otherwise पूरी enterprise का, पूरी मेहनत का मतलब क्या है? So अब the FDI angle in it. So FDI is foreign direct investment. What is foreign direct investment? So again, now we have a company X which is मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पेन। अब इस कंपनी को चलाने के लिए इट नीड्स कैपिटल। सो कैपिटल, बोथ फाइनेंशियल एंड मटेरियल कैपिटल, financial and material capital. It needs money and it's need man and machine. So all such needs will be met by all the resources that a state or a government resort to, which is they will borrow from people. बस फर्क ये है कि private capital they cannot tax people, so they will try to borrow from people. Borrowing the sources, the first one is domestic and the other one is foreign sources. अब प्राइवेट कैपिटल में इसमें वेलफेयर एंगल वगैरह कुछ है नहीं, सो अब जो भी इनके अंदर पैसा इन्वेस्ट करेगा, फर्स्ट थिंग इज जो भी पैसा इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, द शेयर होल्डिंग पैटर्न, इट सेज दे विल बिकम द ओनर ऑफ द शेयर्स in relative in proportion to the shares held by them, in proportion to the shares held by them. सो एक तरह से कंपनी आपकी है, आपके नाम से है, बट पैसा अगर कोई और लगा रहा है तो जो पैसा लगा रहा है ही विल हैव द से, he will have more influencing power. So this is what we mean by shareholding pattern or the ownership pattern. And ownership, it is directly proportional to the number of shares held by each such shareholder. So अब X कंपनी को रन करने के लिए जो भी पैसा चाहिए, it will be given by domestic sources and the foreign sources. Now again, foreign sources जो हैं, they will invest, they are also profit seekers. So वो भी यहाँ they will look for the profit, और आपकी कंपनी है, आपका आइडिया है, and all is good here, and they find profit making opportunities here, then they will invest in your company. So this investment, it is known as foreign investment. अब ये foreign investment है, it can take two forms: foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. And the difference here is the direct investment is in the investment directly into a certain company, which is direct, is specific. And then if you are not sure, if you are some Robert Andrews from Casablanca and you want to invest in Indian company Reliance Industry, you do not know about, you do not know much about the company, and हो सकता है you do not know much about investment, but you have earned a lot of money or you have inherited some. In that case, you want to invest it somewhere, you find India a populous country and you see a lot of growth opportunities here. You have invested certain, let's say, 1 million US dollar into Indian, you want to invest 1 million US dollar in India. So here you you divided the sum into 5 grand each for FDI and FPI. FDI, that you directly invested in Reliance Industries or Adani Industries, even in, let's say, a government company, BHEL, or in some other PSU or private company. Then for the rest of or the half of the initial investment, which you are not sure about, so you invested in some portfolio. You invested in the fund houses, the mutual fund houses, the investor companies, mutual fund houses or investment houses, and you think that वो लोग ज़्यादा जानते हैं, वो दिन रात यही काम करते हैं, they know better about which market they want to put their money into, because उनका भी प्रॉफिट मोटिव है, तो वो गलत जगह तो पैसा लगाएंगे नहीं, even if it is risky, and the whole life is risk in itself. So the other half, it went to foreign portfolio investment. So you here invest in portfolios. So now looking back at our chapter, So government by disinvestment also meant that this activity of disinvestment and privatization, it will bring foreign direct investment into India. क्योंकि ये लोग they will invest money in global currencies and बाहर से यहाँ पे पैसा आता है. It means two things. First, आपका forex it becomes heavier and heavier the forex, much better is your negotiating capacity in international market. So forex is like a weapon, trade weapon in an international market. And the second benefit is infusion of foreign capital. It makes your country a lucrative avenue. Now coming back to the chapter. So the final paragraph, the government also has made attempt to improve the efficiency of PSU by giving them autonomy in taking managerial decisions. So प्राइवेटाइजेशन का थर्ड एंगल है कि गवर्नमेंट ने जो PSUs हैं उनकी जो डिसीजन मेकिंग है उसमें भी autonomy दे दी है. So who runs these PSUs? PSUs are run by civil servants, public servants, and giving them autonomy in managerial decisions means those civil servants, those higher civil servants, they have been given autonomy, they have given independent decision making regarding those decisions that are beneficial for the PSU. So earlier ऐसा था कि गवर्नमेंट वो उनके ऊपर एक वॉच डॉग की तरह रहती थी एंड you may be aware about this concept that in democracy, the permanent executive, such as civil servant, they are they have to work in coordination with the political executive. So earlier there was a lot of interference and corruption as well. लेकिन autonomy देने के साथ अब these higher civil servant they can work in independent way for the best interest of individual PSUs. और ये autonomy it has been given by granting special status to PSUs such as Navratna and Mini Ratna. So let's have a look what these Navratna and Mini Ratnas are. So this concept of Navratna it has been taken from the court of King Vikramaditya, जिसके कोर्ट में 9 रत्न it means 9 eminent personalities थी, the person of excellence in fields of art, literature, knowledge. So उसी concept पे in 1996, 5 years after the initiation of beginning of LPG reforms, in order to improve efficiency and infuse professionalism, government decided to choose 9 PSU and grant them Navratna status, which means to give them greater managerial and operational autonomy. So this greater operational, financial and managerial autonomy has also been granted to 97 other profit-making enterprises known as Mini Ratna. So all in all, there were 9 Navratna, 9 PSUs, which has been granted this operational autonomy by, they were known by 9 Navratnas, and then there were 97 other Mini Ratnas. The first set of Navratna companies, it included Indian Oil Corporation, BPCL, HPCL, Steel Authority, Petrochemical Limited, Heavy Electric Limited, NTPC, VSNL, GAIL and MTNL. And many of these profitable PSUs. Look here, the profitable PSU means they were not generating profit out of profit seeking behavior. गवर्नमेंट का स्टेट कंपनी का मोटिव ही नहीं है प्रॉफिट मेकिंग, बट These these were those PSUs which were making profit because of their efficient execution, because of their well maintained operations. और ये कंपनी जब प्रॉफिट बना रही थी, तो अल्टीमेटली दोज प्रॉफिट दे accrue to the state coffers, and the same profit they could be used somewhere, in some other डेवलपमेंट एक्टिविटी. और एक्स्ट्रा प्रॉफिट आता है तो गवर्नमेंट का अपना खुद का बजट और फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट भी अच्छा होता है. सो in order to promote this behavior, these profitable PSUs, they were granted this autonomy, and many of these PSUs were formed in 1950s and 1960s. So they were set up, yes. अब वो जो मैंने कहा था, that angle came here. They were set up with the intention of providing infrastructure and direct employment to the public. So profit motive नहीं था, है ना? Infrastructure, direct employment था. But because of their quality end product, because of their efficient execution, उनका वो profit बनाने लग गए. So this is it. और ग्लोबलाइजेशन के बारे में नेक्स्ट विल टॉक अबाउट इन नेक्स्ट वीडियोस. थैंक यू वेरी मच एंड काइंडली सब्सक्राइब द चैनल.